Hello, my name is Betsy, and this is part two of my story, my experience of remembering who I am and who we are, what this existence is. Now, it's taken me 8 years to finally put together everything and fully understand everything. It's been a lot of work to integrate this information into my soul and my psyche, my consciousness, and actually understand it fully and know why it's even come to me. Which I know now I'm not the only one who knows this information. Just I'm sure there's many people who have not come forward to talk about this. Some people are starting to. Some people are starting to get on the path to remembering this stuff. But it's not it's not something that just anybody is going to do, especially for the stigma for a lot of the mythology around this topic, creation and where we come from, what happened, why we are here. There's a lot of stigma, there's a lot of false narratives, there's a lot of corrupted and distorted narratives, but they all come from the same place. Every single one, every single story of creation comes from the same place. They all are talking about the same thing in different ways. They are all talking about the same being in different ways. They're all talking about the same oversoul in different ways. They're all talking about, like, it's all one thing. And don't get it wrong, there are other entities, other beings, other deities in the universe, in creation, in the multiverse, in creation. But majority of humanity and Earth come from one being. Majority of this universe comes from one being. Just recently we started to get other beings into our universe, our Earth. Otherwise, everything is us. And if you haven't heard part one, I suggest you go back and listen to part one, because it's going to make a lot of sense after you listen to part one. Please do not watch part two until you watch part one. It's really important. But yeah, where I left off was Atlantis falling. Atlantis fell because of the technology and because of our consciousness becoming unconscious, forgetting who we were, forgetting our relationship to each other and to everything. And it was just chaos. We had never had a war before. We had disagreements, we had toxicity among each other, we had abuse among each other, but there was never a war. There was never toxicity to that extent. There was never domination of the rest of the world to that extent. And we had never had weapons before. Never. So if we disagreed with each other, we just disagreed. We argued. Yes, there was abuse sometimes, but it wasn't with weapons. Never. Never. It was like siblings arguing with each other, or a lover arguing with another lover. Like, it wasn't, it was a relationship. We all knew we were in a relationship together because we all were from the same source. We were all one. We all had to get along. We all had to figure it out. And when consciousness started to fall deeper into the unconscious, deeper into darkness, as we got further away from the sun, we fell in consciousness, and the empire, the whole planet's civilization fell. And then the comet, or not the comet, the asteroid hit and destroyed most of civilization. And those of us that knew that the comet was coming and wasn't in deeper unconscious, we told everyone, and whoever still believed us, whoever was still in higher, lighter consciousness, whoever was more pure in light consciousness and less unconscious darkness consciousness, we left. We relocated. We began other civilizations far away from the impact zone where the asteroid was going to hit, which it was supposed to hit in the northern Atlantic, North Atlantic, near Greenland or Iceland, in that area of the planet. And there was fragments that scattered across towards the South Atlantic, towards the Americas. And that caused major flooding throughout both coasts of the Americas and in Europe and Africa. There was flooding everywhere. And there was a continent connected to the Americas in the Atlantic, and that's where Atlantis was, near the Bermuda Triangle. That's near where a good chunk of the main central area was. And it fell underwater. It became flooded and destroyed, not just through water, through earthquakes, tectonic shifts, and yeah, it fell underwater. The only thing that's left from there is the Bermuda Triangle and parts of Florida and the islands in the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic. The pyramids that are near that area are from the people who relocated the nearest. And then all the other pyramids on the earth are from everyone else who relocated and started other civilizations afterwards. They relocated first and built that civilization, started it off, because we warned people years in advance. They had time to relocate and start anew in advance before the cataclysm. And obviously the people who rebuilt were the people who had more consciousness in them, who were of the lineage of the ones who had more light in them, less density in them, less unconscious in them, less forgetfulness in them. And they were the ones who rebuilt and built the pyramids all over the earth. And this time after Atlantis was the time when Egypt ruled, but it was also the time where Babylon ruled. And Babylon was one of those places that was ruled by the unconscious, just like Sodom and Gomorrah and other places in the world. Now, the time of Atlantis, or was it the time of, no, yes, afterwards. After the time of Atlantis. No, during the time of Atlantis, during the wars, that was during the times of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita. I'm sorry, it's such a hard words to pronounce. I'm not Hindu at all. Like, I am Mexican. Those words are very hard for me. But yeah, the Bhagavad Gita. Yes, the stories of the Bhagavad Gita are from the times of the wars during Atlantis, the fall of Atlantis during that time, going into the times of Egypt and Babylon and the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel was the same time as Atlantis. And then the tower fell. When the tower fell that was during the time of the cataclysm. And that is an allegory for the technology that we had. The abuse of magic, the abuse of consummation. And it's just all these myths, all these stories, they have very important lessons for humanity, for the planet, for consciousness in general, in the universe. Don't think that these aliens are coming here to teach us. Not all of them have lessons for us. Not all of them are coming to us for the greater good of all. Just like the ones that came originally from the planet that got destroyed by them through war. We need to be discerning of the ETs that are coming in. And they will come in. Because during the time of enlightenment is when we can interact with the rest of us in the universe. Because we remember. But not everyone is coming from a good consciousness. Not everyone is coming from a light consciousness, because they have consumed too much. They have abused of themselves and of others too much. They have done things that they don't understand. They have gone too far down certain paths that are toxic. We need to be discerning of the beings that we interact with in the future, that we are interacting with right now, psychically, telepathically. They all have lessons to teach us. They all do, every single one of them. But don't let them lead you down the wrong path. Because we are here for unity. We are here to come together, to find ourselves again, to remember who we are, to remember where we came from. We're not here to think that these aliens are gods over us, overlords, creators of us. They are not. We are equal. We come from the same source. No one is above anyone else. Not even other beings that came into the darkness after us, after me, after the original soul that came into darkness. Because there were others that came afterwards. There were others that came afterwards, and they came in very recently, and those are who you call star seeds. Yeah. And they were lucky. They didn't have to go through full on darkness to get here. There was already a planet, there was already people, there was already civilization, there was already all of this stuff once these other souls came in to this universe. There's not as many of them as there are of the original soul, the original Christ consciousness soul. The rest are going to be starseeds. Which you can call angels or deities incarnate. There was many wars after the fall of Atlantis. And there was many beings that lived among us, different kinds of beings that weren't human, that were also a part of us, just different forms of us, but they were not human. And a lot of them went extinct through the wars that we did, or they never merged with physicality, with matter, so they stayed in the unphysical, in the spiritual. They stayed in the spiritual realm, pure of their original form. And they just interact spiritually with things instead of physically merging with them. That is who you would call elementals, the fae, the fairies, the elemental spirits, the elemental deities. That's them. And then there's others that merged with physicality to an extent, but not fully. And they would be the ones that merge in and out of physicality and spirit. Those are the ones that come in and out. Those would be more of your cryptid beings. And we live among all of them. We just can't fully perceive of them. But yeah, there was many other types of beings living among us. Some of them did go extinct. Some of them just stayed in the non-physical. And some of them were in between both. And during the Age of Darkness, when we forget, we stopped remembering that they were there. We forgot that they were there. We forgot we were living among all these other beings, all these other parts of us that existed. And they are much more in alignment, in harmony with the universe, because they are lighter. Some of them are pure, never went to physicality ever. And they know how to live in harmony with everything without abusing of it. Yeah. We have had so many wars, and they have just been watching us go through all of this within the Dark Age, which we are now coming out of. We are living in better times than we have lived within the past 200, 300 years, 400 years, the last 2,000 years. We have had really, really, really bad times. But we are coming into better times. It might not seem like we are because of all the stuff that's being uncovered, but it's a much better time. A lot of humanity doesn't have to fight for their life to survive. A lot of humanity does not have to go to war with the country next door to survive. A lot of humanity doesn't get their towns pillaged. And like our word, in order for the other town, the other village to take over. During the dark age, during the dark time, there was many wars, thousands of years of wars. And they only got worse and worse and worse until the age of conquest, which was during the age of Pisces, where everything was up for grabs. Everything. Abuse of everything. Conquest of everything. Domination of everything. War over everything. We didn't see each other as a family anymore. We didn't see each other as a unit anymore. We didn't see each other as a collective anymore. We didn't see anything as a part of us anymore. Everything was other. And that is when colonization happened, and the witch hunts, and the witch trials, and so many things happened. Jesus wasn't the only one who remembered who he was during that time. He was just the most vocal. He was just the most vocal. He was the bravest. And what happened to him? He was killed. He was sacrificed, murdered by hordes of people who did not see him as them, who did not see him as a piece of them, a part of them. Because he said that you can be like me and greater. Oh no, that's blasphemy. Religion has done good, but so much evil in the world. We have destroyed so many people. We have destroyed so much land. Many civilizations. So much history. Ridiculous amounts of history of who we actually are, where we actually come from, the past civilizations that have lived, that knew, that remembered. Erased, hidden, manipulated, changed for power. For power. Because those that were trying to get power remembered a little bit, just enough to know that these people are all me, and I want to be the leader of all these people. I want to rule over everything. I want to have everything I want, and they're all going to listen to me. Why? Because they are me. So if they don't remember, I'm just going to tell them. That's where kings and queens come from. Divine rule through blood. But they don't have that divine blood anymore. Why? Because they tainted it through constant toxic consummation. Constant abuse. Of the body of Christ. Of the body, the human body, the earth's body, the animal kingdom, the fruits of creation, all have been abused and overconsumed by these divine bloodlines. Yes, they once knew who they were, but that's long, long gone. They might have a remnant of memory because they've passed down the history, but they don't have their soul intact. They don't have that lineage anymore because they tainted it through their practices, because they kept practices that were toxic from ancient times of overconsumption and abuse. Why? Because they kept committing the original sin, and the original sin was overconsumption, and that overconsumption is rape. Raping of everything. The body, the spirit, first of all, the soul, and the body, and the earth, and the animals, the food, everything, the minerals, everything. Just look at what they're doing now. Raping everything. Everything. Luckily, we are coming out of the dark age. We are getting closer to the sun. We are getting closer back to the sun. And we're on a solar maximum. Isn't that awesome? People are remembering. People are waking up from the sleep, from the slumber, from the darkness, from the unconscious. Darkness is just the unconscious. The only beings fully conscious during the unconscious are the beings that were created to be there and rule over the unconscious. And we have lineage of those beings. Those beings come from the moon. The beings who were ruling over the unconscious, those lineages come from the dust and the minerals and the rocks that smashed into the earth from the moon. From the moon. So all your deities, lunar deities, the lunar deities, all of them come from the moon. They lived on the moon. They have wisdom from their civilization from the moon before it got destroyed and became a moon. Because it was a planet before, and it had entire civilizations on it before, and they did not die from war. They just so happened to merge with the earth. In the grand scheme of things, that was necessary. That was very necessary. It was a consummation that needed to happen. Because we need to merge the consciousness of light and darkness. They had mastered the consciousness of darkness. They lived on the outskirts of our solar system. the deep outskirts. They had mastered the unconscious, and they were on the trajectory to the sun and consummated with our planet. I'm sorry, I'm just taking this all in because that's a piece of information that I wasn't fully integrated until now. So all the deities from the dark, I'm not talking about demons, deities. All the deities of the underworld, the dark, the moon, they all come from the moon. All the deities of the sun come from the sun. Mercury, their consciousness comes from Mercury. Venus from Venus, and all that. And we are all connected. We are all their children because they are the minerals. Their consciousness lives within the minerals. They are the elements. Their remnants. Their souls. They only live in the spirit now, but they have reincarnated within us because we are created from them. And what is true reincarnation, when a soul has been recreated fully from its molecular system, DNA system, when a code of DNA has been put together in a specific way, exactly the same as it once was. We have reincarnations of these beings living among us right now. Some of them are starting to remember. Some of them are starting to remember. We also have the angels, which are the star seeds. I mean, there is some people that like have memories of these wars and other planets and stuff, and like that means you have lineage of the aliens that came to Atlantis and caused the fall of Atlantis to speed up. Those you call the Anunnaki. So you have extra karma to resolve. Specifically, war, fighting, self-destruction. Yeah, just in general, destruction of the self and of others. I guess you could call that the Antichrist consciousness. The destruction of self and others, because we are all one. We're all one body. Even if you are from another being, another angel, another deity, we are still one, because all the deities came from source. We are all a family. We are all part of the same lineage. We're all part of the same tree. Yeah. The beings who mastered the darkness are the roots of the tree of Yggdrasil. And the beings of light who've mastered the light are the beings that sprouted on the top of Yggdrasil, or the Kabbalah, or the Qliphoth, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same. I specifically have a lineage from both, but more deeply rooted in the underworld, the moon, the darkness, overcoming the unconscious. And these gods and deities from the dark have been teaching me, remembering, helping me overcome my unconscious to bring you this information so that you can overcome your unconscious and remember who you are. So, now that we have been caught up to where we are repeating a lot of mistakes from Atlantis and Babylon and Lemuria, Mu. We are repeating a lot of the mistakes. Like I said, we are raping the planet. We are doing it to each other, to everything. Overconsumption, consumerism is so toxic. So toxic. And then not just that, what they were doing in Mu and Atlantis, and it's like they were creating they were not just separating things to like its fundamental form, like with the Hadron Colliders, and destroying the fundamental parts of us. They were also over manipulating the elements and like things, and that's what we're doing right now with plastic. Plastic is the result of manipulation to an extreme form. Oil is already the natural form of these minerals during like a natural process where minerals and elements get transmuted into oil. Like they've already gone through the biggest transformation process. They've already gone through a very harsh transformation process, and turning it into plastic is not healthy. It is abusive to the minerals, to the earth, to literally every form of life that we have. It is a cancer on the earth. It is not going to help us in the long run. It's going to kill everything because it is a cancer. It is literally not helping the planet. It is destroying it. And we need to stop the production of it and build monuments to remember the toxicity of this type of synthetic over manipulation of nature, of ourselves. There's so many things, like sexually, relationship wise, like we're in a relationship with everything. everything and everyone. What kind of relationship is your choice? That doesn't mean it's healthy on all fronts. And overconsumption is abuse. Whatever form of consumption you take, whether it's energy, whether it's things from other people, whether it's money from other people, whether it's acts of kindness from other people, whether it's consummation of your energies, sex wise, of other people, like literal consummation of people, that's the most toxic it can get. You're a zombie at that point. You have a mind virus at that point. Literal virus of the universe at that point. Antichrist consciousness. I prefer to call it a mind virus because it is a mind virus. Cancer cell within the universe, consuming your own self. That's where we are. And we're not at the worst point, but we are definitely at a point that needs to be addressed before it gets worse. And this is part 3. I'm gonna wrap things up because it's getting really long. And well, no, I guess it's not part 3, sorry. I'm just gonna wrap things up because it's getting really long. But this is a lot of information. I do remember not a lot, but like a lot of things that are happening right now. And I have seen possible trajectories to where we can go. And it seems like we're going on a very, very specific trajectory. But the group of humans that want to hold power over the planet, that are toxic and over-consuming of everything and destroying of everything and self-destructive, that have a mind virus, that are trying to spread the mind virus because it's addictive. Like I said in the beginning, consuming of matter, of darkness, of unconscious can become addicting. So, yes, it's a mind virus. It's an illness, just like addiction is an illness. And yeah, these people just want to keep power over the planet, but we're getting closer to the sun. We're in a solar maximum. Their time is up. Everyone is going to remember. I'm not the only one that remembers. There's others that remember and have not said anything. Everyone will remember who they are, who we are. Whether you are the collective of the original human body, or whether you are a starseed, or whether you are a part of the Anunnaki, which you could be mixed. Honestly, like it doesn't matter. Even if you're part of the Anunnaki lineage, they are still part of the original universe collective soul, the oversoul of the universe. So, what are we going to do about it? Because we are on a crossroads right now. and we are on a very specific trajectory that's going, no matter what, is going to go towards enlightenment and everyone awakening and remembering who we are. But we could go the hard way, or we could go the easy way, or we could go the fastest way. And the fastest way, with the least possible toxicity to the planet and to everyone, would be to expose everyone involved in crimes against humanity and the planet. And it doesn't matter if you were involved in these things. Majority of humanity does not want this type of consciousness on the planet. We don't want destruction. We don't want war. We don't want any kind of toxicity. We have matured enough to know certain things are not okay. We have learned enough from thousands of lives of mistakes, thousands of incarnations of making mistakes, of toxicity and darkness and war and famine and conquering and just so much evil and self-destruction. We have learned enough to know that we don't want it. And the only ones that do are the ones addicted to it. So we need to out everything. People need to confess. Especially the people who are involved and don't want this kind of consciousness in the world. Especially the people who are placed in specific places within society where they can out these things. The faster we expose all the toxicity, the easier it will be for us to get rid of it permanently. And when that happens, then we will have a solar flash event, or rapture event, or endgame event. Matrix. Exiting the matrix, as you would like to call. Graduation event. Why? Because our consciousness as a collective has finally overcome certain darkness. And we have all collectively decided, at least as a planet, to not have it anymore. It's a relationship that we have with each other. And as a collective, we are literally blocking, breaking up, leaving out, deleting, erasing, purging the things that don't serve us anymore. We are killing the virus within our body. Literally. Everything is just a reflection of ourselves. Everything. If you study health, if you study nature, it's all the same thing. We reflect the same thing. That's why they call it the tree of life. Because a tree is very, very, is a very good mirror of what we are and what is going on in this universe. Yeah. But anyways, we need to do something about that. And just me, my person right here, just me, Betsy, would like for things to go as fast as possible, as peaceful as possible. So, yes, I know for a fact that stuff going on with Diddy is a collective thing that we have decided that is going to expose the corruption of the world, the toxicity of the world, the rotten part of the world. And we need to expose it. And that is the beginning of the exposure. There has been so much work done in the background for this to come to light, and it's going to expose everything. But we can make it go faster if citizens and people involved expose more, report it to the masses. It doesn't have to be on trial. It just has to be exposed to the world, because the collective consciousness needs to know. Once you're aware of the darkness that has not given good fruit, that has not been in harmony with the rest of us, once we expose the unseen that has been hidden from us on purpose, just like cockroaches, they like to hide in the dark. When we expose it, we can get rid of it as a collective whole with the divine, not just humanity, but the whole body of the universe. Because what we're doing is very important. Very important. And these trials are very important. Exposing these people is very important. Everything will get exposed eventually, no matter what. But it could take years. And during that time, they can use their technology that they've been hiding from us to change timelines, to time travel and change things. And we're not going to know it. And those are Mandela effects. When you see things manipulated throughout time, because they're messy. But we can also change timelines through our actions, through the natural way that actually affects things on a greater scale. Consciously. They're coming and doing things from an unconscious state. We can do things from a conscious state and affect our universe in a much grander scale. Exposing these people is very important. It's like finding a tumor before it spreads to the whole planet. I, for one, don't want to die with cancer. I don't want our planet to be destroyed. And we do have another asteroid coming our way in 2029 by the god Apophis. Just like the moon had the deities of the dark living on it, Apophis is an asteroid that comes from deep space with the collective consciousness of Apophis, and Apophis is destruction. So, technically, We have until then for everything to be exposed. But if we expose everything sooner, we will have the solar flash event, the judgment event, there's just so many terms that you can use for this. The end times event, the apocalypse, the what's it called, the return of Christ, all of these things that can happen sooner if we expose the darkness, the toxic darkness, because not, like I said, not everything from the dark is evil. Those who have mastered the unconsciousness, like the beings from the moon, the deities of the moon, the deities of darkness, they know how to deal with the unconscious in a healthy way. They know how to live in harmony with the universe in a healthy way without abusing it. The fruit in the Garden of Eden was not forbidden. It just was abused. Overconsumption. Consuming before you even knew what you were consuming. Eating of the fruit was supposed to come with maturity, and we did not have maturity. We were immature to the darkness. We were immature to this space. But we're not anymore. And we're not going to deal with no BS anymore. We're not going to deal with no abuse anymore. We're not going to deal with no raping of anything anymore. So, what are we going to do? I know for a fact that they're going to make an attack with their witches, with their warlocks, their covens are going to make an attack on everything that is being targeted at them on Halloween. I suggest we do the same thing, and we pray, meditate, focus on exposing them, put it into the ether, put it out there, do spells to manifest the exposure of these people on Halloween. If we do that, there's more of us than there is of them. Much more of us. And we can win. And we can get everything done in a peaceful, faster manner. But yeah, we have until then, till Apophis comes back. Yeah, that's the end of my message. I hope you all have a good Halloween.